Hey guys, my name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Sehon, and this is Swiftfire True TV. Super excited today to have Leslie Davis and Nancy Calm here to discuss a very kind of touchy subject a little bit. We're going to talk about the cancer culture and the effects of the cancel culture and just the energy of the cancel culture and what that really does to the field, what that does to anyone who participates in that, and whether they're a bystander, onlooker, or actual person who's in action, canceling, and what that kind of looks like. But first of all, definitely go to swiftfire.org and get on the newsletter and jump on to, let me see these comments, or let me get the comments. Hey, so yeah, jump on the Swiftfire newsletter so you can catch us wherever we are. We are currently no longer doing the show on Facebook, so please make sure that you hit the subscribe on here too, so you know and get notifications for anything that's coming up. But so without further ado, Nancy, Leslie, how you guys doing today?
Hey, it's great to be here. Thank you so much. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah.
This is interesting. And I don't know if any of you guys who are on have experienced or witnessed this whole cancel everything. Let's just cancel everything. If it doesn't line up with exactly who I am and what I do, all of a sudden there's this like ginormous, oh no, don't do that. What do you guys have to say about all this?
Yeah, I love seeing the pattern of if it doesn't fit our narrative, then we've got to be the warrior to fight it and make sure everybody knows that it's not the right narrative, because we're in divine source and know all. It's just beautiful to see the patterns that we live in and the paradigms that we have within us, and how we create a narrative straightly through those dysfunctions of our thought patterns and really create a story that's not necessarily true. And I've seen that recently in my life with myself. I literally gave an hour of my time to a precious woman that just gave me this story. And she was on and on about this being this particular situation or thing or whatever being so wrong, so bad, that she was seeing through her pains and traumas of the past this story that she literally created in her mind that was so freaking real to her, that I sat there and listened to her say things that I knew she had no knowledge of. She had no truth to the story, but the story in her head was so true to her, because it was a filter that was through pain that created the story to be so real in her mind. And I think that's happening more and more today, that we're literally need to start really examining ourselves and seeing what's real and what's not within us, because we're the ones that create most of our stories. And, it's been said, when we tell stories of our own life, it's only about 50% true. So, it's the time to wake up and look at what we're thinking, look at what we're saying, look at what we're creating, and what kind of damage. If there's something we don't like, is it our war? Are we the gods to make sure all of our God friends know? It's like, no. What is love? Love covers. Love prays behind the scenes in love, not in making things be the way we want them to be. So I'll stop there. Thanks for letting me share. Leslie, it's all yours.
That was so good, Nancy. I think one thing that I've really realized, and I had to recognize it within my own self first, right? Just like Nancy was saying, and so many times there's new layers of it that get revealed. It was that we draw these lines within our own human psyche. And unless you really study psychology, or, whether through traditional studies or because it interests you, whatever, you don't even fully understand the way your psyche works and how your own personal conditioning works. And we draw these hardcore lines of right and wrong. And our experience must be, this is a personal, on me. I had these really hardcore black and white lines of right and wrong, good and bad, etc. Like, and my experience validated the rightness for me. And so if someone else's, and I saw my own hypocrisy, because what happened was I was witnessing someone else's experience. I was basically, well, if that doesn't line up with my perception and my understanding of truth or right or what have you, then I would discount their experience and I would discount their own, life happening. And it must be wrong because mine must be right. Mine was right. I know it's right because I had this experience and that told me I was right. And the other person's like, no, like I had this experience and I really feel like and that felt so correct in me. And even going, oh my God, I've been such a hypocrite. Like it's kind of that place of like, you want everyone to listen to you. Like you want to go change the way everyone else sees things and does things, but we don't want to hear or see anything else. We're like, well, if it's different than what we already think, no, but let me tell you. And that's very different too. And I think even in the way people share, it really says a lot, because when people share their experience, I think it's one thing like, oh, this is my perspective, this is my experience, versus like, nope, this is the ultimate, like, I had watched a lot of people use the phrase, God said this and God said that. And I'm like, don't know where that came from. I understand that's your experience and your perspective, and I honor that in you, but that doesn't mean it's like an across the board given, but to have our own sovereignty to even be able to recognize that, right? To be so divinely connected within ourselves and our connection so true that we were comfortable going, okay, that's like, all right, cool. Like, thank you for sharing, versus that. So, and that's what we do a lot of times with the cancel. We rage against whatever's happening that we don't like or that we don't agree with. And then energetically, we all know, I know, especially us three, we know this, what you focus on expands. Mm-hmm. And so it's like you're raging at it, and the whole time you're literally throwing lighter fluid on it.
Well, and light, actually, because it's free advertisement. And I love both of what you guys are saying. The part that for me, it's just like when I hear someone say, do not listen to that person, or I'm leaving, if you guys all, if this person isn't canceled, or if, when I hear threats and like directional advice of this is what, and not even like giving room for, I just want you to, think about it, and presenting information on perspective, and then letting the person allow, that to me is a red flag. It's like, it's never should be like, I don't personally know what any one of you should be doing. I barely know what the hell I'm doing. So, you know what I mean? It's like, so who am I to tell the world, this is what you need to do? Whether it's drink soda, drink alcohol, dance, read a certain book, go to the certain, I just I don't get how people can be, and why it's gotten so trendy too, of just this whole like, this is the way it is. This is the only way it is. And if you don't side with me, then you're bad, you're wrong, I'm shaming you, you're terrible, and it's been, whether it's like the Spotify stuff or the stuff that has just happened, amongst the corporation that we're working with right now, or different, politics. There's just so many, like everything is, it's a big trend, and it's like, I'm right. And I have to have everybody side with me to be right. So I feel better, because otherwise, if I'm wrong, then that would hurt and suck. And I would have to look at myself and see what's wrong with me. And I don't want to look at what's wrong with me. So therefore, I'm going to put it out there as big as possible to get as many people to side with me, so I feel better about my choice. And I think that is really screwed up. And it also leaves no room for anyone to figure it out on their own. It's basically saying, you're dumb, you're stupid, you can't think for yourself. So let me tell you how to think, because you don't get the right to think for yourself. Let me think for you and decide for you, because and most of these people, they're not like in relationship with us. There's no reason to bring correction or explanation or any kind of push on what you should be doing or what you shouldn't be doing. And now they're putting pressure on literal corporations, of like, if you don't do this, we're going to all leave, or different things. And it's like, that's so unnecessary. And again, on an energy level, with the biofield and the limbic system, this is our field, however big feet different people are, probably they're on the negative. If you're doing any of that, your biofield will actually shrink in and go in. I'm not going to name names of people who are like an inch wide and or inverted, which we've done lots of scalar waves on different people on the planet who are there, versus someone who may have a 21-foot radius of radiating love, which is, that retraction or bringing in is anti-love, it's fear, and it doesn't create a great space of unconditional love. It's conditional. And so, but with what I'm seeing is on a biofield level, when your limbic system can't tell the difference between what's real and what isn't, and judgments are really important too. So every time we judge physically, mentally, a situation, which is what this is, it's basically saying, I'm right, you're wrong, is a judgment. Like that you're not smart enough to figure it out. I have to tell you, I'm judging that you're so dumb that you don't get this. So let me tell you how to do this. Cancel, clear everything. But when we judge or have an opinion, which Bob Jones, who bless his heart, passed today, anniversary 2014, but he would say opinions are like witchcraft. And, so when we judge, that limbic system on a science level connects the judgment that goes out, and it actually registers in your body as a judgment that comes in. So when we have an opinion and we're public about it, or even say it out loud, or even think it, this is a radiating judgment that goes out in code into the field, and you only get a match. So you'll get judgment directly back. And to the level of F up that you have on a public level is also the same level of karma or judgment that you would get back. So whether it's love or judgment, whatever you're putting out is exactly what you're going to get. And to the level that you put it out is the level that you're going to get it back. Because the limbic system registers this as you're judging yourself, because there is no them. We're all one. And so love, as love goes out, the limbic system goes, oh my gosh, I received that love. And then there's a chemistry effect of all the great endorphins that saturate your body, create a healthy immune system, digestive system, and everything's like happy in your heart, and you marinate and all that. But when there's judgment, the judgment goes out, but it also comes directly in that minute on a chemistry level of, terrible metabolism, suppressed immunity, your hair gets gray, you age faster, you dehydrate, like all these really negative effects of judgment as well. So, on a public level, when you do it to that level, it's not only the chemistry effect, but then you're also getting a match to it karmically, because the code is out there that you just created, cancel, clear, to really open the door for that to come directly to you. And it may not happen today or tomorrow, but it will happen, because karma does not take a day off. It doesn't take a nap. Code is code. Equations are equations. And that's the way God set up the law. So it's literally a law that can't be changed. But so, yeah, it's a little bit alarming to me when people put so much out there, and it's mostly, I'm sad because of the people doing it, of how they don't even realize necessarily that this will affect them on an energy level. And it could be a pattern that they continue if they're not recorrecting. And sometimes pain is the best teacher. And so when pain comes because of your own actions, then there can be some pretty harsh consequences. I will say this is, even in once the situation, which I won't give too much energy to it, but in that case too, this person was in the wrong for something really, really terrible several months ago that happened, and basically needed everyone to side with her for financial gain. and also for probably mental, of just leading like, oh my God, I need people on my side. I can't really tell the truth of what happened. So I'm going to fudge on all these little things to make my story relatable, believable, and people can, half truth these things to connect with it, whatever half truths there are, in order to have the weight of them on my side. So I feel better that I'm okay and I'm not wrong, instead of just being like, you know what, I'm wrong. I screwed up. Like, I shouldn't have done that. And this is what I should have done. And I hope that you can forgive me. And that's not going to happen again. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I was going to say too, something that some friends and I were talking about recently is I had this realization for myself where most of the time opinions are just judgments in a little cute outfit versus having a preference. When you have this, because there's been like a lot of, I've seen a lot of like online, like nobody wants to be judged, but we're supposed to judge, like all of this judgment stuff. And I'm like, but we're going to have opinions, or we're going to have preferences. And what's the difference? And for me, I felt like when you have a preference, it doesn't come with a condemnation or an evaluation of the other party. It's just like, cool, you want to wear that red shirt? That's awesome. I don't care to wear the red shirt. I'm going to wear the blue shirt. There's no opinion. There's no condemnation, essentially, right? In the exchange of the preference. But a lot of times when we come in with really strong opinions, it's really a judgment. And we've been conditioned to this. I think a lot of this is so new for people that because it's so subconscious for a lot of us. I was such a strong, you should really apologize to everyone in my life probably for all of the judgments. And a lot of it was internal for me. I even judge myself to a very, very strong degree. And I had opinions about everything, and I didn't recognize, or I didn't have the self-awareness or the emotional intelligence or the emotional maturity. Because to really see what we're doing, it takes emotional intelligence and emotional maturity to see the big picture, to be willing to not condemn someone else that does something in a way that we don't. That's a big thing. Well, it's a big thing for me. Other people might be able to do it with ease, but and that's kind of what I feel like that ends up happening so easily whenever we haven't cultivated a self-awareness. But when we really cultivate that, our own connection with God, we're willing to not judge anyone else. Because like you said earlier, Sharnael, none of us actually know what anyone else is supposed to do. And a phrase a good friend of mine, Ashley, coined that I love, like, I'm not their Holy Spirit. I'm no one's Holy Spirit. And I often will say, like, I use the example, people who have raved about Kanye West's, worship album would be a lot of the same people who told him not to become Kanye West 10 years ago. They would have given him all of this instruction and direction and all of these to-dos and to-don'ts that would have stopped him from becoming Kanye West, right? And then when he does a certain thing that they like, it's like, oh my gosh, look at all of this amazingness. And you just never know the journey that some souls have to take. You never know what people have to experience. And raging and saying, there was and language comes into play with this. I'm going to kind of go off. Is that okay? Can I go with the language thing? Language means different things to different people, depending on how you're raised, depending on what part of the world you're in. There's this word seance used recently, and I got a little tickled because I was like, well, I wonder what that word means to them. Like, does it mean candles? Does it mean prayer and candles? Like, I just didn't really know. And I got tickled, and it just means so many different things. They were using it in a very derogatory situation, very condemning, they were very emotionally tied to what they were saying, and it was spewing everywhere. And I was like, well, that's funny. I'm sure if they saw me with my candles lit praying, they probably would think I was having a seance, because I don't know what it means to them. And it's just this willingness, and that's where that emotional maturity and emotional intelligence comes in, to not just sling out these words that have this heavy, for me, not to sling out these massive words like seance that come with a lot of weight behind them when it comes to the vast majority of humans that are going to hear it. And that's the kind of thing too. It's like, again, for us to be sovereign enough within our own self to recognize that when someone says that, we can say, it doesn't make it true just because we heard it on a video, right? It's just like, that's an interesting thought. Okay. It's just, it gets a little bit for me, like I get a little giggly, as you can tell, because it's the ability to go, we can just invite everyone to have their own opinion. And so that's kind of my whole thing with opinions and preferences and judgments. Preferences are non-judgmental and they are complete with joy and sending out love into your field. But when you have that strong condemnation, there's that as well that you get back.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. And you can see the physical body in, in a couple of these cases where it's just like, they're straight up like triggering, like it's whatever this is related to. And look, I've triggered, and for sure I've been in fear about certain things in my past. So absolutely zero judgment at all. I just, again, this is just a topic of conversation because I see myself in this situation as well as as this person who's participating in, and all the different ways of different things of participating. My question is, what is the risk of just letting people figure things out on their own? I mean, I get if it's like your child, don't touch the stove and you're going to get burned kind of deal to a minor child in your house. But when you get on, I think too, people just think like, oh, well, I have a camcorder or an iPhone and a platform. I can just spew out whatever opinions I have in whatever situation and then just be like, blah, 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 blah. And everyone hears it all. And it's like, energetically, that's hard to come back from after you've already put it out. It's like, how do you undo the energy of that? But yeah, and what you were talking about perspective, I literally have, and Nancy, you guys have both been with me since the start. Nancy for sure has been from the start, and not long after you, Leslie, as far as Swiftfire being birthed. And I can personally attest to the fact that there are CDs and teachings that I have from even 5 years ago, 7 years ago, that literally I have thrown out in the garbage because I'm like, I don't even believe that anymore. And I'm not sure why I believe that. So there's always over time the opportunity to grow and open and expand and be like, okay, you know what? I have more information now and I'm able to make a different judgment or come to a different conclusion regarding a certain situation or topic without whatever. So it's made me, because I have that experience of being wrong and owning it and saying, hey, you know what, I'm throwing this away and telling people to the level of whoever I taught this to, sorry, I don't believe this anymore. This is going on the garbage. This is what I think now. And that may change in 5 minutes with more information, right? And just being super fluid with what's coming in, because in this technology age of where everything is so fast and quick and there's so much information, you could think one thing and then get like another perspective instantly and be like, oh, well, I didn't know that. Well, now I know that. This is all different. And so when we make these hard, concrete choice decisions and say, this is the final, this is it, no one else should believe anything but this, that is scary to me. That's just scary to me. Nancy, what do you got to say?
Yeah, it's scary. I keep thinking about the time we're in. It's like everybody wants to go back to the norm, but there's no more norm. We're now in a new day. And this new day is very critical, in my opinion, that we really need to be aware of ourselves, observe ourselves, and be so open. We're got these new medias and we're in meeting so many people from all over the world, and to have an open mind and realize that we can learn from anybody and everybody. I mean, from the one that's been through such trauma, and just they'll come out with stuff that'll just blow us away if we're open to receive the truth that's for us and trash the rest. And also the key thing is that we're in a time of great exposure, and things are being exposed in ourself. If we allow that to, if we allow ourselves to look at what's being exposed and allow that truth to come forth, then we're able to literally heal and ascend to, or just kind of develop into a pure, higher version of who we truly are. The thing about being in the old, it's the old patterns we learned, or I learned, I should say, only me. I know what I learned. I learned that if you didn't believe what I believed, and I had all truth, and if you didn't believe it, then I literally put this wall up, and this wall was an invisible wall, but yet it was so energetic. And so people could feel that wall. So those walls need to be destroyed. That's the new world. There's no more wall. Everybody, we're one. Everybody's got a part, and they've got something that we can learn from if we decide to be open and let the key, put the key that is given to us in and put it in those doors and open the doors for all this new stuff that we don't know, because we really know nothing, but yet we know everything when we go inside. And it's time to really stop thinking that we do know all. And if you don't believe what I believe, then you're no good. And I'm going to make sure that everybody knows you're no good. And that's going to be devastating, like Sharnael explained, and also Leslie, that it's going to be devastating to ourselves. We're in a new day, a new hour. Truth is being exposed in us first and everywhere else. And if you don't allow this truth to come forth within you, you're going to have a harder time ascending into this new transitional energetic world. Whatever's happening, it's something's happening. We all know it. We all feel it. And get ready for it. And the way to get ready for it is start learning to love. Love the hell out of yourself first. Love the hell out of people. Don't try to, the thing, look, what world are we in? We're in the world of the media that says, wear your mask, get your jab, and do whatever you got to do. Just follow my rules. So if you don't follow the rules that I think should be the rules, then I'm going to judge you because you don't follow the rules. If somebody wants to do something that I feel is devastating to them, I'm having to learn to lovingly detach myself, not judge them, love the hell out of them, and allow them to follow their divine path. Who am I to say that they shouldn't do that when that might be what they need to do in order for whatever divine has for them? I'm learning to let people go and love them where they're at, whatever they're doing. And if I am divinely supposed to share something to them, it's going to be meant to them in love and not to the masses to expose them, because I want to make sure, as Sharnael said, that I am right and they are wrong. So let's stop blaming, stop having to be right, and start loving from us first, and then we can love the world as it is. Thank you.
That's really good. So yeah, I mean, it's a right-wrong program. And I was first aware of it with Gary Young and Dr. Stewart, especially, and all of you guys know Dr. Stewart, of just how he embodied love. He definitely wrote healing oils of the Bible, but in person, if you ever experienced being with him, I had a lot of different ideas before I met Dr. Stewart and Gary, and, but they weren't judgmental about where I was at the time. They were just like, oh, okay. So tell me about that. And we're very open to, where I was, and I could feel them physically. I could feel their love through their hug or through their eyes or through just their presence of being with me. And you felt like you were the only person in the world. You just, when you would talk to them, you just felt like so special, and they were so zoned in, and you could feel love losing out. Sometimes I would cry, and I would see people who were around him. And Bob did the same thing. Bob Stevens too, but Bob Jones. I mean, there's very few people on the planet that I know that walk in love. And I coined the phrase back then when I met Dr. Stewart. I literally felt like he was loving the hell out of me. Like that's what I came up with then. And I'm still using that that's my goal, is to, whether it's a post or a video or an email I'm sending back or an exchange at the gas station or the library or wherever I am, is just loving people right through their bodies, of just having this intention of I'm sending this, radiating this, I'm sending out love to you, no matter what words are coming out of your mouth and what opinions you have, of just being okay with that situation. And going back to the correcting and, the public correction, if you want to talk about scripture, Matthew says, if someone sins against you, sin just means something that's less than love, missing the target of love. If someone sins against you, in Matthew 18, it talks about go to that person, 8:18, I think, or it's 8:18, but go to that person and talk to them privately, like Nancy said. And if that doesn't work, you get some other people, but it's always in love. And then at the end, if it doesn't work, then there might be canceling. But also, it's not for the fact of like some big, like, I'm canceling you and you're out of my life and everyone else too. And I'm going to ghost you and block you and we're never going to talk again. And everyone knows about it. But it says if your brother sins against you, meaning that there's some sort of already established loving relationship. Brother to me is sacred. Brother is, you don't want to correct the person across the street or someone on a video or, your neighbor or your pastor or your teacher, unless, there was a loving way to say, what, hey, I love you and I'm just worried about you. I'm concerned, can we talk about this? I want to see where you're coming from. This is where I'm coming from, and having a healthy discussion about it versus just, I heard about this on Facebook that you're pissed off at me. And, I saw that you blocked me but I see you on this other page that I still have. So we're clearly friends over there. It's just so weird how things are. Anyway, Leslie, it's not our job to somehow there's a program of this job. Like I have to have the job of making you see the way I do or saving you from the danger that you could have going there. And it's like, that is not your job. That is a dumb job. It's a made up job. It's a program. You're not anybody's, person to make sure everyone's okay. You just be in charge of you. I'm going to be in charge of me and everyone needs to be in charge of them. Right.
It's so true. I was about to say the exact same thing. It's this conditioning that if we don't do this, then we're not standing up or we're not honoring God is a lot of the way I've experienced it. That doesn't mean that this is the context in which we're using it, but it was like, and that also, I've just witnessed a lot of people misuse their references whenever they try to go down that path. And that's, again, it kind of comes with that emotional intelligence and emotional maturity where you have to go, I don't really think that's okay. Cool for you. Like good for you. But yeah, it's this need. I had it. So I can like completely, again, like, thinking about how I used to think about everything just kind of makes me go, I so love that I had to experience that to understand the capacity to love that I have now, because it was interesting because I would have said I loved everyone and I did love people and I had a respect for people. I never treated anyone negatively. Thank you, Dad. But my internal like opinions, judgments, which you were talking about, they were very strong. Whether I voiced them or interacted with them differently, I didn't really do that. But I'd been there to think to the degree that it was like my job and like that I really deeply, fully understood really big concepts of life. So I just get tickled at myself. We don't have to tell anyone else how to live. And when we really, of course, it's different when it comes to your raising children. I mean, between adults and responsible humans, but it's when we really let go of that, like even you can feel your body relax. You can feel that contraction leave your system. You can feel this like relaxation come in, which is a higher frequency. And when you actually can look at them and just laugh or giggle or just see them as an epic human, regardless of how strange you think their choices might be. It's like if we actually all did that, if you just took a community of people that did that, how different would their city be? Would their state be? And I think we're getting there. I think that's part of the deal is this rise in consciousness, which I know all of us are on this, a lot of awareness about. We're seeing it more and more, which is also really exciting. We're seeing people we're standing up and willing to say, how much we love. And the other thing I was going to say really quick about the judgment and the need to be right too is most people don't recognize that we're in an age of information. We have more access to historical and scientific information in the past 40 years than any generation before us. So there's things that 3 generations ago they would have said is hardcore correct and true, and this is why, but they never would have been able to back it up with, my parents didn't know I think the Sumerian tablets are in California or England, I can't remember. Now you can hop on a plane and go look at the clay tablets yourself or look at them online, and you could fly to Egypt and check stuff out. You can be on your phone the whole time telling people what you discovered, what you read, what you saw. And that's just something we couldn't do before. So we have this impression that we're under this know-all of everything whenever we didn't even have all the information, and we still don't. And just being okay with that. But that really comes from that inner peace. It comes from that connection to the divine, that peace that surpasses, where we don't have to be in control. Because to me, it feels like, for me, it came down to me wanting to control everything. And of course, I got that back. I got back people wanting to control me, and people, what felt like in my sphere of life, a lot of control. But that's what I was putting out. So.
Wow. I never saw that as control, but you're right. It's controlling the narrative, controlling the story of what you need it to be to feel safe and secure, because that's your opinion. And if more people are in your side, then you have more ways to be right. And you know what I mean?
It's that fear of the unknown. We're scared that we're not right. And when we could really actually face that fear and embrace it and just relax into it and let it be saturated with love, for me, that's when it shifted. But I had to let go of that need to be right, because I didn't recognize it. It was my subconscious programming. I wasn't conscious or aware I was doing it until I was. So I don't know.
Yeah. I wanted to share about control. Years ago, my dad's passed, but he was living, and I would go to my parents' house often, and I was really looking at the control thing, because it is definitely in my bloodline. And so I'm in their house and I'm telling them, what they need to do. And I did that often. And, I was just helping. I'm just helping you guys. And literally the Holy Spirit came down and just said, this is control. And I went, what? No, I'm helping, and it was just so amazing. And, I want to share another story that was so unique to me, is that I'm sitting talking to my husband about this. It wasn't a conversation about us arguing with anything, but it was just a conversation. And I don't even remember what it was, but we're sitting there and he says something, and then I say something. And then after I say something, he says, you're right. And I literally saw myself from another place. And I saw that I was ready with 2 other shots to speak into him, so he will tell me, so I could prove that I was right. Now, that, and then when you were talking about control, it's the other thing. If we observe ourselves and how much we're trying to control not only others, but especially in our own home, when we're trying to control our children, our spouses, and start examining how much you're really trying to do that. And then you'll have this consciousness place from just observing yourself, and we'll be able to see how much we're trying to be right in this world that we're in, and how much we're trying to make sure people know that we're right, so we can feel better about ourselves, as we're talking about here. This is very key to me of what we're living in. If because of the changes that are here and now, we, I believe, have to be at a heart space of love and allowing ourselves to be revealed so we can be healed and the truth can come forth. And we can be, Sharnael mentioned, is we can be just walking by people and they're going to feel the vibration of the Christ in them and go, whoa, I'm ready to change. So let's be the change collectively, and that's how we're going to change the world. So thank you. I love talking about this stuff. It's so fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, no, I agree. And this is our inheritance, is to transmute any of the hurts, the pain, the programs of needing to be right, whatever it is, just to squash them within us. It could be a DNA pattern or a signature pattern. If it was a DNA program and we were incarnated into it, then and you see it and you recognize it in ourselves, and we could be like, okay, guess what? I'm the one to fix it. And we get to smash it, observe it, witness it, realize what's happening, realize what's happening, and then like own it and be like, okay, yes. And then transmute it to make more space for God, who is love, that doesn't have conditions on anything, and just allowing people to be where they are. One time I did a conference with Bob Stevens, and afterwards we had went to eat, and we were at a Chinese restaurant, and one of the most profound conversations, because I was coming to him, after this thing, and there was a situation that was happening with a family member, and I was like telling him, about it, and literally as we're sitting there talking, he picks up like the paper of a straw, and he's doing this with the straw while he's listening to me, and I'm just sitting there and I'm talking, and then he takes it and he throws it right out of my face, and it like hits my head and lands on the ground. And I was like, what? And so I pick it, I'm like basically thinking, you're not even listening to me. What the hell was that? So I pick up the paper, and I like threw it back at him. And then he like just it kind of bounced off him, and it like landed, and he literally just like picked it, and then he just set it down. And I was like, what? And he was just like, well, I could throw it back, or I could throw it to you and then you throw it back, and we can go here all day. Or you could just, when someone throws something at you, you just pick it up and put it down. Like, it's up to you. And that's how energy works. And I was just like, so it's just like, even if something's coming straight at you, you have the choice to just be like, okay, well, that's not where I'm at. This is where I'm at. And also, I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to play your games. I'm not going to get entangled in the bait. I'm just going to live me. And I'm super cool that you're where you are at. And I don't have to defend or explain or throw back or get on a public video or anything. I'm just going to be like, cool. I see where you're at, and I'm here, and peace, deuces.
Okay, so yes, and the key to all of that is that you don't go call all 3 of your friends and tell them about it. Okay, so after you've not thrown the energy back, it's because you've learned to love. That's like that. And Bob, I know that you, and when this happened, you had this understanding, but I'm recognizing so many people are coming into that understanding where they're like so proud they didn't like claw back, but then they go call like 3 of their friends. And so when I work with clients, that's what I've had to be like, so this is what it means. It's because we're coming from love.
I actually have that written down at the top of my page here, because I found out that in the past, you're right, even if I didn't come right back to them, not only would I call someone, but I would make sure to call someone that I knew would agree with me that I was right. Or I have like a group chat of like 8 Gigi's, and we're all just like buddies. And if somebody would like troll me or whatever, I would like post it in the group and be like, seriously, can you guys help me out here? Or can you see this? It's like, I needed them to be right. I needed them to like fight for me and like comment back or explain the truth. And, the whole thing is so dumb. It's basically, it's like, okay, who cares? And I catch myself still to this day, especially if it's like a troll situation where I'm just like, please, can you like help me out here? Or am I crazy? I mean, even if I don't want them to say anything, I'm like, can you just look at this and tell me, like, am I nuts here? Am I okay? Like, is there something wrong? Or is, and then usually someone will say like, no, I mean, that's a little bit nuts, but right. Again, right. I needed to be right. So I needed to make sure I'm not crazy, instead of just going within and asking God, like, okay, what's the truth about this? And being okay with the truth about where I am, and being okay with where they are, and just being like, whatever. But once it goes out public, it's like hard to reel it in, whether it's public and or private. Energetically, it all still goes out. I mean, even with the Spotify stuff that just went out, like Neil Young, I'm going to leave if you don't blah, 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 and cancel this person. It's like, okay, well, it just came out this morning that even though he pulled everything down, now it's like most of it's back up again. So that really worked. It's like, oh yeah, well, I didn't know you were really going to not cancel him. So shoot, that didn't work. I better put my stuff back up so people can listen to it. It's like, but no, they're not putting that everywhere. You're not hearing that part. You're just hearing the part, where all these people left because of it. But what were you going to say, Nancy, where you're jumping in?
No, I remember that Chinese dinner. I was there, and it was so awesome. It was like cracking me up. And I wanted to speak into what happened to me, so you can add to it if you would, or you guys. So I was having a shoulder pain, and I mentioned something about my shoulder pain before I could even finish it out of my mouth. He asked me a question about a relationship.
You're talking about Bob.
Yeah, yes. I'm sorry. Yes, Bob
Yes.
Stevens. And he just asked about a relationship, and he said, did you stay or did you run? And I literally felt myself, never in my life, I felt myself actually run. And as he's asking the question, I felt myself come back. So I said, I ran, but now I stay.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was so profound. Just the energy that he carries of love, and just the few words that he speaks will get you to places that would take years normally. So just a powerful, powerful man. And I honor and respect him. And if people don't understand him, God bless them. May they awaken in their time, divine time. And thank you. That was awesome. That was an awesome lunch.
Awesome. Leslie?
I actually have an interview for a podcast that's about to get up with him. So I'm excited. It was a really, really good one. I've seen him. I did some coaching. I was a little example person. Holy smokes, Nancy. When you said that working with him shifts so much, what would take for like a much longer time, that's just completely accurate. You literally make massive leaps. Like, he's fabulous.
Well, my story of working with him, I literally found my childhood sweetheart, got back with, the man of my dreams, literally, and, canceled the C word and got my health back, remembered my health again, and tons of other things that have supported my life. And his book, Conscious Language, and other materials, his classes that have literally changed the way I speak, think, feel, talk. I mean, and that's not even where we were going to go necessarily on this cancel culture energy stuff, but since you brought it up, and what's interesting to me too is even with this situation, since we're here, it's like this person was really upset about his book, and but there's like so many mainstream Christian teachers that have taught the same thing. John Paul Jackson taught for years on this. Joel Osteen, which some people apparently hate. I don't really know that much about him, but I just barely post. I looked up the I Am books, and his popped up, and I was like, okay, well, he's a preacher and he's on TV. And I put it up there, and oh my God, so many people are like, oh, do you follow him? If you do, then I'm unfollowing you. I mean, literally, that's what someone said as I'm talking about the cancel culture stuff. It's like someone was literally like, I need to know where you stand on this right now with Joel Osteen, because if you like him, then I'm unfollowing you. And I'm like, I don't like him or not like him. I've never met the guy. I just looking up I Am modalities besides this one book that we've been talking about, and he was one of them. There's probably 100, but here we go. I was like, almost, literally she unfriended me over it. So I was like, okay, whatever.
That's also the conditioning. I need to know where you stand on all of these things before I listen to anything you have to say, because something might infiltrate me that I understand that's where people are at, because I was there for sure. And I had someone tell me one time they would only read books written by believers. And I said, well, that's interesting because my dad had triple bypass heart surgery, and I definitely didn't ask that doctor anything about his beliefs. Like, not a thing.
Well,
Not one thing.
well, this is exactly what I've been saying for 2 decades, is if people would have the same plumb line of conditioning with every object that's in their house, with every service they've ever had, who cut your hair? What about the comb that they use to comb your hair? Who made that? What's their belief system? What about if you go to the store and buy the bananas? Who picked the bananas? What's their belief system? Where's the tree at for the bananas? Like, what farm? What do those people believe? What about the computer you bought? What are their belief system? What about the notebook that you're writing in? Oh my God, God forbid the printer has a belief system that might be a little bit different than yours, or the person with the pen, or what about the color on the paper, or the orange juice that you drink in your refrigerator, or what about the refrigerator? Who made the refrigerator and what do they believe? Like, literally, we could go, but see, people don't do that. Otherwise, we'd be in a cave in like the Himalayas with no electricity. Oh God, who made the electricity? What are their belief system? What about the guy who plugged in the electricity to your house? What about the water guy? What about, I mean, we could, but see, there isn't that level playing field. Nobody looks at everything like that, or we wouldn't be able to exist, because we would be in caves with nothing in the cave, except for maybe fire, which God forbid the cavemen who invented that. What the hell? What if they didn't believe in Jesus dying on the cross and resurrecting? Or, maybe they're a Muslim or something. It's like, but they'll pick and choose. And I did this, picking and choosing of like, I'm going to work with this company if only this, because the covering thing or whatever. So you would have to do that with everything for your covering. You'd have to do that. Where's this blanket from? Where is the stuffing in the blanket from? I mean, you should have that plumb line for everything. It can't just be like only for this situation. You cannot pee in the pool and hope it doesn't get anywhere. Energy is energy. So we just love, it goes back to that whole smoking section. It's like, we're not that contained in the world, especially now with technology. Like you said, you could be in Egypt talking about what you're doing in Egypt in a split second. And energetically, that causes a ripple effect. And so I think it would be really important for us to really just dial it back a little bit and really just pay attention to what's going on inside of us and what we choose for us and our kids, and make that the way for us. And before we got on the call, Leslie, you had even mentioned, if you do go out and say something publicly, if you at least preface it with, what, this is my opinion. This is where I'm coming from, love it or leave it, blah, blah, blah. But I just want to let you know this is what works for me and my family. And we're not going to do this, or we are going to do this, or whatever. But there's not even usually a preference of that. It's just, when I see don't listen to them, or do listen to them and only them, or blah, 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 blah. And it's all these absolutes of like, you should not, or you're bad, or you could get a demon, or you can, ruin your life and your family. Or it's like with the scare tactics and the shaming, that to me is a giant red flag.
Is it fear-based or love-based? Right.
Well, when you mentioned like someone saying, I need to know if you are okay with Joel Osteen. If you are, I'm going to unfollow you. And that comes back to trusting ourselves. We've been so conditioned to trust outside of ourselves and to not trust our connection.
Bingo.
But that also comes from cultivation. And we live in such a time where our own spiritual cultivation, which now is becoming a lot more in the know, right? We're understanding how to do that more. We're understanding there's coaches for that. There's friends for that. We're getting a lot more attention on that aspect, because ultimately we're spirit. Our spirit is the largest part of us. We're in this world, but not of it. So what if we operate off the laws that are not of it? We're going to really be able to blast this thing wide open, right? But it's that trusting of ourselves. I know for me, I didn't trust myself at all. I remember calling certain people that knew more than me, knew better than me. And I remember when I was coming into this place of life of really clearly hearing God in me, etc., whatever we're calling anything, I suppose. But, when I was really clear, I was remember asking, and I heard, well, if Joan of Arc would have listened to everyone outside of her who knew better, who knew more. They had more authority. They had more everything through, and of course, this was through a very religious lens, right? For the most part, not just religious, but also cultural. The priests that tried to stop her knew more. The nuns that tried to stop her knew more. They'd been doing it longer. They had more evidence of their authority, they felt like, then she would have never really accomplished her mission, or everything is how we understand it historically, right? And so there's that place of going, in inspiring people, because I even think like inspiration comes from internal versus external motivation. Like sharing your experience and letting that inspire the people that you're called to inspire, to cultivate their connection to where they do trust themselves. So even if you do like Joel Osteen, and I don't prefer him, but I love your content and I love your heart, and I'm good with that. It doesn't scare me. I don't feel like it's going to infiltrate me, because I am literally so connected to the divine. It's not even an option. Like, it's not an option. And the belief that it's an option makes it an option. That's what people don't get to about that whole, like, I might get a demon thing. It's like, the fact that you're scared that you're a demon, gonna get a demon, that fear is actually the door that's open.
Yep.
So anyways, okay, there's a lot that we could say there. I'm going to wind that down and put that away for now.
Yeah, I know you have to go too, and so we'll wrap up here. But I went through a sabbatical in 1999. I took a sabbatical from my church, and I was leading worship, 3 Bible studies, intercessory prayer, all the, everything. I had just done a 3-year leadership training to be able to be a leader and get my towel. They had a towel ceremony where you would, like, now you can be in service at my church, all this leadership stuff. And right after I graduated, I felt like God was telling me, take a sabbatical. And I'm like, oh my God, I just literally got here. I was in seminary at the time, and I was doing all this stuff in ministry. And like I said, I felt like even called to leave seminary. And so then I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? I quit my job. I quit all of these things that I was doing religiously, and I loved. And, so I was soaking. Every day I was just on the floor, and I would just listen, because God was like, I want you to know me without that external. I want you to recognize my voice and have this time with me. And so when I first got, in that situation, I was like, oh, yay, I'm going to read all these books that I can finally catch up on, and listen to these CDs that I haven't, because back then it was CDs. And then every time I would go to read the book, it was like, nope. And I was like, ah. And I finally was like, well, can you just tell me what I can do? Because I'm getting a lot of no's, and I just want to get like a real understanding, God, like where you're at. And he was like, well, you can lay down and you can spend time with me every day until you know my voice. Like, that's pretty much the thing. You can take care of your kids and your family and your health. And also, just like, it's time for you. I really want you to literally put your ear to the breast of Jesus, like, or God, and just hear me and know my voice without a doubt, without any, salt and pepper, without any side mashed potatoes, without any, extra external thing. And I got to be where it ended up being a year for me, and a year of just really, and I don't know if I really given it up, because there's still actually not a lot of people I go to or listen to, unless it's a confirmation. What I got from that was, in that one day I just heard, be still and know that I'm God. And then I heard, be still. And then I heard, be. And I'm thinking, how do you do that? And the outcome was kind of like, you're going to know me, and you're going to hear it from me first. And anything else you get, whether it's like a prophetic voice or whatever, will only be a confirmation from now on. If someone comes to you and tells you something that's just like a shocking surprise, then that's not God, because I'm going to tell you first, and then anything else will be a confirmation. Then you're going to know that it's God because of the witness, right? And that's kind of what I've lived by, from that place of just in spirit. You mentioned inspired. Inspired is to be in spirit. My Holy Spirit is within me. And I'll just say this too about Bob Stevens, is one thing I could tell you over the years of working with him is there's been 2 times that I went to him and I've said, oh my God, I'm in this situation. What do I do? And the first time he was a little nicer, but he was like, I don't know. Your heart knows. You're the only one who knows what to do. I can't tell you what to do. The second time I did it, he was angry in a loving, firm way and said, never, ever, ever ask me what you should do again. I never want you to ever do it, because he was not ever wanting to create any kind of codependency type external situation where I would come to him for everything. Then from that point on, he is not that guy. He is like, your heart knows. I'm teaching you to go to your heart and remember what your heart says and to trust your heart. And that is something that has literally shifted a lot of things in me, to be able to just go, oh, okay, I can trust my heart and God's in here and I can hear what God says for me. So, but yeah, Nancy, you got any final words, you guys, before we pop off?
Wow, that was so beautiful, Sharnael. I so agree. It's learning to go within, getting into our heart space and hear for ourselves, because all answers are within us. And I just want to say happy Valentine's Day to all you single, beautiful women. Know who you are and know
and men.
And men, yes, and men, and know who you are and know that all love is inside of you, all insecurity, and that you are beautiful, powerful, brilliant, masterful beings. And heal thyself, and then your right one will be ready for you and you will be ready for him, so, or her. So anyways, God bless you. Happy Valentine's Day to all. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be here. It's an honor to be here with you two beautiful women, powerful women, and I'm learning a lot from you guys so much. Thank you.
Awesome. Any final words, Leslie?
Same thing. I forgot it was Valentine's Day. So good though. Yes, love yourself fully. One thing I will say, yeah, I do. I always have words. Final words. The scripture, love your neighbor as yourself. In Aramaic, the word neighbor means every living thing.
Wow.
So really not love anything unless you fully love yourself. And that is all of you. And as my friend Fallon says, leave none of you behind. And just love everything that you are and know that it's headed, you're exactly the right place at exactly the right time, and it gets to keep getting better. And thank you.
Yeah. Well, and I remember when you found that out about that interpretation, because you called me and you were like, oh my God, you're not going to believe what this means, you know, and it was just like such an expansion for both of us, because, and I always think of love your neighbor as yourself. If we're not loving ourselves, how can we even love our neighbor? But ministry, a lot of times, or even as women, moms and spouses, it's CEOs of our family, you know, there's how many times have we just been like, you know what, we're taught that everyone comes before us, and that we, you know, to almost to the allowing of us being sick, you know, will be, you know, 24 hours, you know, at someone's access, especially with the world having, you know, Facebook or whatever, where I could get 100 texts in the middle of the night of people just saying, oh, I need this, or I need that, or can you help me with this? Or, and it's like, I could literally constantly just be on call, and then miss myself, you know, whether it's with my own family or whatever. So loving ourselves in this time, that is the key. And everything is an inside job. And the more we love ourselves, the more we explore truth, and have the courage to not be afraid to stand next to someone who feels differently than you do, without feeling like you're going to get a cootie or something. But just being like, you know what, greater is God and me than he who's in the world. It's like, you know what, be around me. I'm going to radiate love to you. All you guys who don't have the same opinions, I welcome you, and I love you wherever you're at, and I love me where I'm at. And again, I could change my mind in 5 minutes. So I'm willing to listen and have the courage to listen to what other people may believe or be where they're at, without any judgment. I may have, you know, some of my own experience or education, and if it's appropriate, and then they ask, but it's not, you know, I'm not going to give unsolicited advice or, like, you know, shame on you or be weird about it, but loving everyone where we're at, starting with us in here, especially Valentine's Day, Bob's anniversary, pass day. Him and actually the guy, what's his name, who did the water research. Both of them passed on the 14th. Remind me, what's his name? Dr. Emoto.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Of course they would pass on the day of love. And love has a frequency. Love is the highest frequency. And when we are in love, we have a ripple effect, not just to water, but to our entire body, because the body is mostly made up of water, but also to the field. And the field goes out and has a ripple effect. So to everyone who's watching, I love you. I love you two ladies. I love everyone who made it here with us today. I wish all of you guys a happy Valentine's Day. And I just invite you to remind love today, on this day of all days. Especially, this can be a new day for you to explore love in a way that wouldn't have conditions, and really, really do some self-care stuff and love yourself, and be okay looking at things that maybe don't fit any boxes that you've had, because it could give you an opportunity to really remember something that wasn't there before, that can expand you and help you grow and help you heal, and to be the best version of you in this day and age, especially where this is an important time to be encouraged and to be encouragement and inspiring and in spirit to anyone that we can contact. And so love you so much, and thank you for this time, and look forward to the next time that we're together, and talk to you guys later. You guys have a good week. Bye.
Bye. See you soon.